Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the webinar on AI Enhanced Organization Design. Today, we're going to be focusing on the pharmaceutical and manufacturing companies. We know a number of people are slowly joining us, so welcome to those who have joined us. My name is Nick Richmond. I'm a director of Tricordant. I lead on the practice for organization design. Now, Tricordant is a leading organizational consultancy working in partnership with our clients to co-create healthy and successful organizations. We're looking to make a real positive difference in society and supporting leaders to be the best versions of themselves. I'm also joined by my friend and colleague from Reconfig, Tim de Boer. I'm going to ask Tim if he can introduce himself and Reconfig.
Thank you, Nick. Delighted to be here. Reconfig is a software company working with partners like Reconfig around the world. What we do is we create an organization digital twin. What Nick does is turn it into an organization with meaningful jobs for people. So we always say we are the hammer, Nick is the carpenter, and the people that have an organization need a house. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Tim. So in a mode, Tim and I are going to share the provocation, and I'll cover some of the rationale for AI Enhanced Organization Design, while Tim then demonstrates the approach with the Reconfig tool. I'd love you to write any questions into chat as we go along. We'll try to pick them up as part of either the panel or part of the provocation. So do have a think about that. In the meantime, I'd like to just make a couple of offers. There's two offers that we have. One is to book a meeting with us before the 31st of January. And this offer is, we'll create a digital twin of your organization to explore during that meeting. All we need is the purpose of your organization, strategy, and the top two levels of job titles, either of the organization, if you're looking at the whole organization, or maybe just a business unit of that organization. From those three simple pieces of information, we can create a digital twin of your current organization to help demonstrate how our approach can dramatically improve the productivity and impact of the operating model. So in one instance where we found that up to 46% of head office roles could be automated, retrained, and redeployed, freeing up resources for other strategic initiatives. So that's our first offer. Our second one is, if you really want to be able to do this yourselves and learn how to approach organization design using AI, then we're putting on some training on the 28th of January in London, face-to-face, 9 until 5 p.m. And what you'll learn there is to assess the full AI potential of your organization. So you'll use your own organization as a case study. How to redesign your organization to enhance productivity while creating those meaningful jobs for your people. And also to leverage the power of AI and the creativity of your people to scale transformation successfully. And of course, where to get started in your organization. So I want to start with this really. And this is a survey from Microsoft. They had 31,000 respondents from across all generations across the globe. And what it really is saying is that AI at work is already here. In fact, knowledge workers are already using generative AI. They're reluctant to admit using it for most of the important tasks. And also they're bringing their own AI tools into the workplace. Of course, that leads into security and ethical considerations. But the one that I've bolded there is really important to recognize that leaders are worrying that they lack a plan and vision to implement AI. And you may say, well, what's driving these responses? Well, people are saying, well, they struggle with the pace and volume of work. They're feeling burnt out. They've just got an overwhelm of emails. And in fact, Microsoft undertook some research and identified that 60% of time for those who are using Microsoft 365 applications are spent on emails, chats, and meetings, and only 40% in value creation apps like Word and PowerPoint. And so there's this shift of lots of activity around communication, and maybe not as much time spent in creating that value that some would really be desiring to do. And that's something to really take account of and think about. How can people work together with AI? And how do these leaders think about a plan holistically to implement AI? So from our research, we found some of the top use cases of generative AI across pharma and manufacturing. And these are the 8 ones that really spring forth from all the others. There's a whole lot of research and use cases under the accelerated drug discovery and development, optimizing clinical trials, strengthening disease identification and personalized medicine, boosting pharmaceutical marketing and sales, modernizing supply chain and manufacturing processes, quality assurance and safety, predictive maintenance, and intelligent automation. Now, of course, there's others. There's training and knowledge delivery and R&D virtual assistants. In fact, I was at a pharmaceutical conference a few weeks ago, and we had the chief executive of DeepMind coming along and speaking about generative AI and how they're using it. And they're actually going to be creating a synthetic version of a human cell. And that allows them to then accelerate clinical trials, accelerate drug development. And they're able to use their R&D virtual assistants to work with that virtual cell. And this is the plan once they've been able to create that virtual cell, and that's going to accelerate things even further. Now, that's 8 of the top ones that we could find, and there's many others. And I'm just going to share maybe a few jaw-dropper, what I call jaw-dropper use cases in the next few slides to help us to recognize the sheer impact of AI on work. So 100,000 years is the first jaw-dropper. And this is Recursion. It's a pharmaceutical research and manufacturing company. It used AI to predict targets for 36 billion compounds. And it enabled a scale of research in 1 week that would have taken 100,000 years with conventional approaches. So 1 week for 100,000 years. And that's the power of AI. 36 hours is the next one. And this is NASA. And they are able to cut development time from design to finished product from years to just 36 hours. And one of the mechanical engineers was quoted as saying that they got between 6 to 10 times improvement in mass, stiffness, and design time. So that's years to 36 hours. That's just phenomenal. In AI at scale. So this is Sanofi. It's one of the few companies that we believe is really going for AI at scale. And it's looking at a company-wide digital transformation and data democratization journey. They're looking to scale and accelerate groundbreaking research processing. So they take their research processes from just weeks to hours, and then been able to predict 80% of the low inventory positions within Sanofi's biopharma supply chain. And then also to predict and help them to have an unprecedented view of all of Sanofi's activities, and they call it a 360-degree view that they're able to have, been able to use AI at scale. So of course, these case studies prompt the questions, where are you on your AI journey? Are you keeping pace with others? And how do you go from individual use cases to an orchestra of AI and people creating a symphony of value? Now, at the heart of organization design is division of work and integration of effort. And I want you to imagine ordering a breakfast, no matter what type of breakfast that you order. Maybe it's just eggs, bacon, hash browns, a croissant, some tea or coffee, maybe an orange juice. What you don't want is your eggs arriving, then 10 minutes later your bacon, then half an hour later your coffee, and as you're walking out the door really disgruntled, that they throw the hash brown at you. You need it all to arrive at the same time so you can have an exquisite breakfast experience. And the same goes for when designing an integrated operator model where AI and people work together to create a symphony of value. The last thing you want is for AI and people to be playing different tunes, playing at different tempos and in different keys. There must be alignment and coordination. Otherwise, complexity and variability will increase, leading to waste, inefficiency, loss of trust, and frustration. So Tim, why don't you tell us about the benefits of AI-powered operating models and how that helps mitigate risks?
Thank you, Nick. So specifically in pharma, we see a lot of competition. Now, some people are at this moment just experimenting with AI, and some people already reap the benefits and create an ROI. But it will change the competitive landscape because the productivity gain is so large that if you don't do it, you will have a competitive disadvantage. So AI is triggering a lot of difference in competition. We see that across other industries as well, but specifically in pharma. It's also that people are now getting used to AI, where the bar is raised. So you have there are higher customer expectations now. If I phone my bank, I want them to be prepared, and probably there's a voice recognition system that can even recognize what I'm saying, and I want the answer instantly. So it's the personalized customer engagement. It's leveraging personalized, timely, relevant interactions, and that all at scale. Then, of course, there is regulatory and compliance, and specifically in the area of AI, we have the GDPR, we have the AI Act, etc. So it's now compounded. In pharma, you're already dealing with a lot of regulatory and compliance, so you should use AI to make sure that you're compliant, but also the AI itself requires additional compliance. And of course, adapting to technological change is at the heart of the industry. It's always been the case, but the speed of how it's happening now is unprecedented. So I would say for those that are in charge of a unit or of a company, you need to model your organization and very rapidly see what is the impact of technological change and how can you improve. Lots of people are saying AI is going to increase productivity, but the question is how, and you can't leave it to chance. So you need to go from experimentation to orchestration, like Nick was just saying. And specifically in the supply chain, we see a lot of changes coming, because it's not just one company that's changing, it's the whole supply chain that's changing. So we do need, also with the geopolitical landscape, we need supply chain reliability. And in our part of the world, Europe, we should reduce our dependency of some that are a bit more to the east or to the west. And of course, we see increasing demand. People don't want to be left behind. So you also see it, you see it from clients, you see it also from your own people, that you need to catch up. So I'm worried if people say we never use it. There might be reasons. I'm really looking forward to hear. But yeah, I would say let's dive into it. Can you do the next slide, Nick? So it all starts with a vision. So if you talk about AI or enhanced organization design, we talk about idealized design instead of looking at bottlenecks. That's for those that are up with literature. It's Akov. Maybe already like 30 years ago, the article was published. But it's really now in organization design about creating an optimized state, an idealized design, and then going towards it. So vision is something that you want to achieve. The old days, we would sometimes say we have blockers, we have roadblocks in our organization. We want to go away from something, but it's much more inspiring if you have a compelling vision. And in the organization digital twin, I'll show you in a moment, we model that target operating model, that idealized state. But of course, then you also need to do the gap analysis with your current state. So that's also something that's supported through the software, and working with Nick and his team will look very deep, at a very deep level of your current state. And then, of course, you need to have a transformation roadmap where you have the idealized design, the target operating model, you have your current state, and now you need to have that roadmap to get you there. And that's not going to happen overnight, but it's mind-boggling to see how far you can get with the idealized state. So it's bringing together business strategy, people strategy, and artificial intelligence. Nick, can you do next slide? Great. So this is a screenshot of the demo that I prepared. You see here Michael Smith. He doesn't exist. He's the CEO of a company that we use for the demo. Company is called Pharma Demo, and with synthetic data, we are simulating 47 management roles representing 50,000 employees with a total work capacity of 8 million hours per month. Now, we calculated that out of those 8 million hours per month, we can free up 3.5 million hours. That's 43%. Can you imagine that you get a productivity gain of 43%? So you have additional time at your hands as a manager if you use the generative AI agents. So if you see, as you see here, we have an organization chart, and that's just symbolic for the target operating model that we created. And you see on the left kind of a dashboard. I would like to now go online, so I would like to share my own screen. Thank you. Good. So as I said, it all starts with a vision, and here this is a simulation of a company. So you might recognize it from the field. You might guess who was the source of inspiration here, but it's multiple sources, and we bring it all together. So at Pharma Demo, we're committed to transforming lives through innovative healthcare solutions. We focus on breakthrough therapies for humans and animals addressing critical health challenges. Our mission is to deliver a high-quality, effective medicine while fostering culture of collaboration. We are a leader in the pharma industry, cutting-edge research development, and our dedicated team works tirelessly to ensure safety and well-being of patients, employees, and communities. Now, this is a start, and if you put your own mission in here, the system can help you a lot with designing an AI-powered organization. Now, the next step is that you look at the strategy, and here we talk about the strategic arenas, the vehicles, you have the differentiators, the staging, and you have the economic logic. So this is all generated based on what could be through the AI, but of course, what should be can be put in here for your organization. So we are not trying to redefine your strategy, but we root the organization design into strategy. So we need to capture the strategy. So that means that for the organization design, it's important that there is innovative therapeutics, there is patient-centric solutions, research and development, global market expansion. So it goes quite deep. You could not do this in a reasonable amount of time in the past. So we would just do a proxy and we would say, well, your strategy is concentric diversification or what have you. But now we can be very deep, as you can see here, with all the elements of where you will be active. So your strategic arenas, how you'll get there. So here, organic growth, partnerships, alliance. You can go very deep with your economic logic, with premium pricing, economies of scale. And all of that is going to be translated into an AI-powered organization. What's the next step? We look at the design criteria. So what are the design criteria that for the organization that you want to implement? Well, this is here, organization models should prioritize innovation, maintain significant investments, patient perspective in all activities, etc. So we're really supporting the design process. You can look at like what kind of configuration you have. And for those that are fans of Mintzberg, I am, you see here that the system suggests you should have an innovative organization hybrid. And you can go to the functions, the units, the authority metrics, etc. But really interesting, because I showed you that we had this AI potential. How are we gonna get there? Well, we do a a synthetic population of your organization. So here you see these people, Michael Smith, that was on my first slide. He doesn't exist, but we give him a name so that he's the leader of the organization. Underneath him, there is Anna, also doesn't exist in real life, but she has a job in the organization Digital Twin. You can see here the org chart, and you can see also how the time has been allocated. So for example, here you have Michael. What does he do? He's into corporate strategy because he's the CEO, so he's looking for potential partners, evaluating partnership opportunities, etc. Now, once we have all of this, it's really interesting to look at the activities, and I need to change the screen a little bit. So we're talking about here research and development, identify unmet medical needs. And then if I say here, the system says, well, you could, I'm not going to bother about outsourcing at the moment because we're focusing on AI, but the system says here, you could do here, what did it say? 20%. So 20% of identifying unmet medical needs can be automated through AI. Now, the question always is, why is that? Well, the system gives you the reasoning. Identifying unmet medical needs involves complex market research and collaboration, etc. So it's not 80%, it's only 20%. But based on the synthetic time utilization that I showed you here previously, this adds up to 98, almost 100,000 hours per month. So that's quite significant. So what we then do is we say, okay, fine, let's have a look at the AI agents. So here you have research and development, you have the activity, 20% automation potential. You need to do it for the team that is in human pharma, for example, here. And then you have here a bot, the research and development identify unmet medical needs. It automates almost 90,000 hours. And that's the agent here that you will see in your org chart here. So this gives you a bit of a feel on how we use AI for organization design to create AI-powered organizations. So I can talk days about this, but I think it gives you a feel about what the power of software AI-powered can do in the hands of somebody like Nick and his team.
Yeah, and of course, as Tim was just talking there, it's just a reminder that actually this is a human-centric organization design approach that's supercharged using the Reconfig platform. One that's quite often asked when people are learning about artificial intelligence and the impact it could have on their organizations. The first one may be, do you see AI replacing people? So maybe that's something that we can start having a bit of a chat about, Tim, and then we'll see how things go from there. And if people have a question that they've got, then by all means, either in chat or if you want to come off mute and then just share your question, we can explore those. But I've got a couple of other questions we can also explore. But Tim, what do you think? Do you see AI replacing people?
Well, there's a famous saying in the industry that AI will not be, or people will not be just replaced by AI, but they will be replaced by other people using AI. So we see augmentation, we see sometimes boring jobs can be taken away, but it's responsibility of the managers to find meaningful jobs. So it's really a transformation. It's the fourth industrial revolution. So we've seen it 3 times in the human mankind, but it might be different this time. It's really important that you have a vision, and that's what we're here to help with.
Yeah, and I'll just add into that. My experience is that there's 3 responses that organizations have to artificial intelligence. You've mentioned one about enhancing. There are others who look at retraining their people. IKEA is a great example of that. They retrained 8,500 of their people when they brought in AI, and that led to, they attribute 1.4 billion being added to the revenue because of that. But we also see organizations that are replacing their people with AI. And so there's other organizations that have sought to reduce their workforce by about 50%. Now, I can just imagine how the remaining people in that organization feel. I don't think they're going to be feeling particularly motivated if they see AI is encroaching on human work that much. And they may be thinking, well, why should I give my all here? The other thing that I think is a real lesson to learn from that particular example is that the people that were asked to leave, the 50% of the workforce that were asked to leave, many of them set up their own AI-based organizations, and they got these startups going, and they created a huge amount of value. So this organization lost out on all that potential of people's knowledge and expertise, so that corporate knowledge, but also the potential of what they could have brought to the organization. So they could have been the next BASF, and BASF is well known for enabling great innovation internally and allowing their researchers and developers to just experiment and try things out, and then they take those ideas through a Dragon's Den type process and filter out the ones that are the best and invest in those. And where they don't fit strategic need or strategic direction, they actually sell them to others, sell them to other organizations, or allow management buyouts. So they create a huge amount of value in that way. So I think there's a real lesson to be learned about not just thinking, well, let's take AI and reduce our number of people, because people are where the ideas come from. People are where real things happen and value is created. Another one maybe around how do you combine both kind of strategic led and also constraints led design, Tim? Because I know that's a question that's came up recently in a conversation. Do you want to kind of share a little bit about that context and your response to that?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought that, of course, during a demo, you show it as if it's a linear process, right? So you start with strategy and you end up with job descriptions. In reality, it's more circular. But as you were pointing out, we had some interesting conversations lately about can you also do it the other way around? Can you say, well, this is my current organization. What should be my strategy given the fact that I have these capabilities? Because you're not starting often, if you have a large organization, with a clean sheet of paper. You need to take into account what are the limitations of my organization. So with our tool, we are supporting the process like linearly, whereas if I describe it, it gives the impression that it really goes like step by step by step from A to B and to Z. And this is also where the human aspect comes in, and that's where I need to make a compliment for Tricordant, because I really like that. Sometimes I'm a techie. My father wanted me to study computer science, so I did. I'm a good boy, and I'm still a little bit of a nerd. But what I also realize is that there is a social process behind it, and we never would give our tool just to a CEO and push the button and say, well, this is my organization. It has to have the buy-in of the stakeholders. It has to go through a whole process, and that's why we like working with Nick and his team.
Yeah. And of course, as Tim said earlier on, org design is rooted in strategy. So it's really about thinking both what are the constraints and as well as what is the strategic direction. So you've got to think both and in this case, and you've got to create something that allows you to move forward, because we all know pharma's really tight on regulations, as many other sectors are. And so there will be some constraints in an organization that cannot be changed. We'd also want to just test and check some of the constraints that are available, and just ensure that those are real constraints as opposed to a preference. And sometimes that'll require a bit of nuancing, a bit of negotiation, some one-to-one work, and also working in larger group events like workshops. But we've got to think both and as we work those things through. So one of the things from the survey that we noticed was that there's a lot of experimentation, and when we speak to people, there's a lot of people who are dabbling here and there. They've, like in Novartis, they've bought Copilot for all of the employees. And so people are trying things out, experimenting for themselves, and that's great because that helps improve trust and understanding of the capabilities of AI, and helps people to offload some of the more routine stuff to Copilot or another AI that they're using. And so the question then becomes, how do you move from lots of these little experiments to an orchestra of people and AI working together to create that symphony of value? I think that's probably a good question for us to ask next, Tim. Or answer at least.
Yeah, so AI is enabling you to do it in a different way. In the past, we would use PowerPoint and Excel sheets, and then it's really difficult to create a model of your organization. So nowadays, we can go really deep, very fast, and we spoke about idealized design. So it's really about a model in a very deep level. So 50,000 people, you can model now and exactly what they do, and also see what's the potential of each of the activities. So with that, you can inspire the human thinking process and ultimately see how AI can be complementary to what people would like to do, and create meaningful roles for people as well. So it's as you sometimes say, Nick, it's redefining the industry. The industry of organization design is not as it used to be. It's really now different. Everything you learn at school, you need to rethink.
Certainly. And if you kind of start to extrapolate that, you can start stepping back and seeing that actually artificial intelligence is going to be a real support of good org design practice. So good org design practice will probably have what I've been starting to call an OD observatory, which is this generative AI that's constantly monitoring key data coming off the organization that feeds a live digital twin. That will then allow org designers to run scenarios, or even ask the Gen AI to constantly run scenarios of what ifs. So what if there's another pandemic across the globe? What if there's an escalation in war in Ukraine? What if there's issues around supply chain between different parts of the world because of increased climate change and tsunamis and hurricanes and tidal waves and all that kind of stuff? So and it'll allow you to then think about how's that going to impact the organization, and then what are the mitigating actions? How do we create an organization that can be flexible and agile enough to work through those and thrive within that really complex environment? I think this idea around an OD observatory will also allow org designers to not have to do as much detailed discovery work as they traditionally would have, because a lot of that will already be in hand, already be available in reporting, whether it's slides or systems that can present where the organization is at any given time. And that could be both qualitative and quantitative data. So kind of just seeing the future of organization design based on just what we're seeing today with what Tim's sharing around Reconfig. So there's a huge amount that we could continue to discuss around AI Enhanced Organization Design, but I'd love to hear from yourselves if people want to come off mute and just share a question, if they've been experimenting within their own organizations. Yeah, so I've got a question from Alison. Alison, do you want to share your question?
Hi, thanks for that. Yeah, so and apologies, I was a little bit late to starting the call. Tim, what you showed us, I thought that was really exciting. Is that something that you've used in a pharmaceutical organization, or is that just was that just like a demo of what it could do in that scenario, or is it real life?
The answer is is yes to both your questions. So
All right.
yes, I have prepared a demo because we respect the privacy of our clients.
Fair enough.
So it was late last night to take away all the clues that people could see on the screen. But it's also rooted in actual work. So yes, we do work in the pharma industry. It's a really interesting industry to be in now, because you have so many specific processes, but also you have generic marketing and sales, you have HR, etc. So yeah, that's the short answer.
Okay, and how successful is that the wrong word, successful? So I guess compared to if you hadn't used the AI system, how would you have got the same result, do you think? Did it, I'll say, Nick, you spoke a lot about kind of saving time. Was that the thing that we hook it on, that it saved us time, or actually did it help us think in a different way to org design?
Yeah, I'll just give you an example. We're working with for a German company, and the CEO, it was not a very big one, sorry, but the CEO was overwhelmed. So she had too many direct reports, so she was stretched. And we said, well, let's have a look at your competitors, how they're organized. Now, of course, I can have like 5 junior consultants do that work, and they will come back after a few weeks and they have done all the analysis. But now we can do it with a push of a button. So we generate alternatives based on the inspiration from the competition. And then she says, well, I can see what I'm doing wrong. And then, of course, as a consultant, I can also help her a little bit, because she needed to focus much more on her clients, because she was, if you look at her calendar, she was simply doing everything except talking to clients. And I'm not revealing the name, but it was shocking to see that the boss was not client-centric and just preaching it. And then she was expecting all the people to be client-centric. No, that's not going to happen. So what we did using the AI, and I showed you a little bit of it, we created an organizational digital twin of her organization. We looked at how the time was divided. So partly it was synthetic. Synthetic means that you have data that follows the same statistical pattern, but it's not real data. But we also put in some real data. So we asked, like, look at your calendar, how do you spend your time actually? So we saw how that worked. And then we could do two things. We could reorganize, which is the classic thing, right? You always do that. You have a better organization. But we could also see what could be offloaded to generative AI agents. Now, was it successful? Yes, it was successful in that we could do things now that we would not be able to do 5 years ago through the AI. Was it successful that the CEO saw the light? Yes. We are still now at the implementation phase where we can really see how many hours we can free up. So it's early days, and nobody has the really full implementation already. And it's also a sociological experiment that we're seeing now. But we believe that this is different automation than it used to be in the past. So now you have generative AI agents that you should treat like colleagues, because they're learning, they're making mistakes, they need to be better over time. It's very different than what you had like in the old days when you're doing process automation or some other work. So it's opening up the brain. It's really embracing what we call idealized design. And yeah, I'm really enthusiastic about the results that we've seen so far.
Excellent. And is that a system you've developed yourself, or is that a system from elsewhere? Again, apologies if they've already covered that.
I have to pay tribute to the founders. I'm the CEO, but I'm a late co-founder. So the company is based in Oslo, and maybe you know his name, Professor Nikolai Warren. He is quite famous. He's written some books about organization design. But together with Kim Soldal and Tora, about 6 years ago, they were doing organization design, and it was a bit too early, but they were fed up with the fact that there were no analytics tools. So they built it themselves. The original beast was a huge spreadsheet, And then they got funding from the Norwegian government, so they made it web enabled, and that's the one that you saw. We are now at Reconfig 3.0, so we used to use AI for the process itself, but now we're also, based on market feedback, we're also including that AI-powered organization that we want to model. So now it's both using it during the process, and it's creating the end result for clients to create an AI-powered organization.
Yeah, so when people ask us this question, how do you get started? It's generally these 6 kind of points that spring to mind. It's really being clear on what your business strategy is, because if you remember back, I think just go back one slide, in fact, you've got this on the left-hand side. It is very much strategy-led, really trying to understand what you're trying to achieve. And as we've said before, org design is rooted in strategy. And we think that any AI really needs to be rooted in strategy. AI itself will not become your strategic differentiator. Your organization already has, or should already have, those strategic differentiators, and AI is just going to enhance those. And so you've got to come back to what is your business strategy and really understand that. And it could range from, you know, where we're going to start. Well, let's focus on content generation, or maybe it's customer service, automation, marketing, personalization, R&D. You know, it could be one of those. Just thinking about your business strategy and the associated use cases and where you could start. And then with that, you start with a pilot project rather than just a full scale transformation. Start by integrating it. It's like using that design thinking approach, or you may use the words agile and iterative. So start by integrating that AI into one area of the organization. Again, it could be customer service, workforce planning, could be a specific operational process. And then by running that pilot project, you can test it, you can understand the impact of the AI, gather some feedback, adjust before scaling. We advocate engaging employees early, and this is where we're talking about both the kind of top-down, bottom-up, strategic, constraints-led experimentation, as well as intentional strategic ways of working. And so we would want you to engage employees early, and don't just treat this fully as a top-down initiative. You want to, just like Novartis, get people to start working with and playing with the AI, and let 1,000 flowers bloom, really. This approach builds that trust, reduces resistance to change, ensures that AI solutions are designed with real user needs in mind. And then focusing on data quality. And in fact, this is one's got, there's 2 parts to this one, really. One is about, you know, rubbish in equals rubbish out. And so you've got to make sure you've got high quality data, reliable data. So invest in your data management systems and governance. But that also means that you've got to think about the underlying infrastructure and computing power that may be required. Now, many organizations are outsourcing that to cloud solutions, but equally others may think that they need to do that internally. And so some of that conversation needs to be had about that. And embracing that culture of continuous learning. So AI is constantly evolving, and so should your organization. This approach really reinforces that continuous learning that we'd want to see within your culture, within your people, where they're encouraged to upskill and adapt to new AI tools. And you can have a whole range of things like workshops, sessions, training sessions, opportunities for employees to engage with the various AI technologies, so they can build their confidence and become much more empowered. And then lastly, to partner with AI specialists like ourselves, because it can be complex, and having the right expert team is critical. So we can help you build that compelling vision, that idealized design, as Tim was sharing, and help you not just with that longer term roadmap, but also the detailed plan to get you there, to help you to think, what do we need to do tomorrow, next week, next month? And so that allows you to create that integrated operating model that maximizes that value creation. So you've got people and AI working together to create that symphony of value. So those are the kind of the 6 kind of key things that we think you need to pay attention to to get going within your organization. And just to finish off this particular webinars, just to come back to those two offers. First offer is do book a meeting with us, and what we'll do is we'll create a digital twin of your organization.